Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Gameday. Presented by D&R House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.
Hello everyone, and welcome into our last and final Vegas Nation Gameday episode for the 2022-2023 season. I'm your host, Cassie Soto. Week 18 is officially here. The Raiders are preparing to host their AFC West rivals in the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. While playoff chances are long gone for the Raiders, the players are still playing for pride in this one. So let's go ahead and get to our opening drive, brought to you by Capriatis. Make your game day extraordinary with Capriatis. Order now. I am joined now by Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny Bonsignor. Vinny, Week 18, it's officially here, the end of the season. As I said in my intro, not a whole lot for the Raiders to play for, except pride, Vinny.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for a lot of these guys, this is the last image that they're going to put out on film for this year, whether they're planning to stay here with the Raiders in Las Vegas or audition for 31 other teams. So there is something to play for. And one thing that we've learned about this Raiders team, in spite of anything that's happened, including benching Derek Carr and some of the losses, they haven't quit on anybody. They've been in every game that they've played, except for the Saints game, which was kind of one of those weird games, but they're continuing to play through the finish line. And that's the best that you could do, really the only thing you could do at this point. Play to the finish line, see where it gets you, and then regroup, reassess, and start looking ahead to 2023.
Yeah. Well, with the benching of Derek Carr, of course, questions started to pop up as to what's going to happen with wide receiver Davante Adams. We know he's here because of his best friend, Derek Carr. And, of course, people were asking, well, is he going to stay? What's he going to want to do? His best friend is benched, and obviously that affected him personally. But he kind of answered that question for Raiders fans this week. Vinny, let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say earlier this week.
Do you want to come back and be a Raider again next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I came here, I wouldn't have been here or ended up here originally probably, if Derek wasn't here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I won't be here, in the event that he's not here. That's my boy. Obviously, I got his back through anything. I think I've made that more than clear at this point, and I support him and support everything that he has, moving forward as well. But, my dream was to play for this team before he was a Raider, obviously, and at this point I want to, obviously try to make this thing work and continue on doing what I'm doing here and, myself get better and obviously see the team grow and get better as well.
There you have it, Davante Adams saying absolutely he wants to be a Raider, wants to stay here as a Raider. That has to be music to Raiders fans' ears everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And yeah, Derek Carr was part of the reason that he came here, but it wasn't the only reason. He wanted to be on the West Coast, which is where his home base is in California. He grew up rooting for the Raiders. He also feels like the Raiders organization is headed in the right direction, gives him an opportunity to compete for what he wants to compete for at this stage of his career, which is championships. Now, a lot of that's going to be predicated on who the next quarterback is. The Raiders will keep Davante Adams in the loop as they go about trying to decide who that's going to be. They're going to value his input, and why wouldn't you? He's an extremely bright player that knows what a great quarterback looks like. So keeping him in the loop and being open to his input, I think, is a really good thing. And I think as all the dust settles, everything will work out accordingly. I think Davante Adams will be a member of the Raiders next year, and a happy, content member of the Raiders next year.
Yeah, you mentioned that quarterback situation. We know you recently wrote an article for the Las Vegas Review-Journal that fans can check out at lvrj.com, where it basically said Raiders' top priority, sign Tom Brady, right? So what can you tell us about this situation? It's obviously at the beginnings here now, and how quickly this timetable moves regarding the quarterback situation.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to be a person of interest, let's put it that way. A lot of things have to happen. He has to become a free agent. That's going to be predicated on what happens in Tampa Bay. Or if he even wants to continue to play with his career, there's a possibility that he may retire. So he'll be one of the quarterbacks, I think, that the Raiders, if he becomes available, will automatically be linked to and interested in. Jimmy Garoppolo will also be in that mix. But Jarrett Stidham has something to say about that as well. He played tremendously against the 49ers, and he has another opportunity on Saturday against the Chiefs to put his best foot forward and say, hey, you know what? I'm here too, and I should be part of the mix. And I would fully expect him to handle that opportunity well and be part of the mix here next year.
Well, let's wrap things up here, Vinny. Again, final game of the season. Your expectations here, obviously the Raiders are not playing for any sort of playoff race, any sort of playoff contention. What has to happen? How do the Raiders end on a high note?
Tough order, obviously, playing against the Chiefs, who have a lot to play for. The number one seed is still out there for them, but I expect this to be a close game. The Raiders have been in every game, regardless of the opponent. The San Francisco 49ers are absolutely a legitimate Super Bowl champion contender, and the Raiders played them right to the finish line in overtime. So I would expect that to continue as well, and to show that they have a belief in what's going on here. It might not have been reflected in terms of the record, but there's a lot of players here that feel good about where this thing is headed, and I think that they have shown that in how they've played and how they've competed right to the very end, and I expect that to continue on Saturday.
Flip the Field, brought to you by South Point Sportsbook. Download the app at southpointsports.com. It's Heidi Fang here with Ed Graney, and we're going to take a look at the other side of this matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs, who this week, Ed, are getting Mecole Hardman off of IR. That should give a boost to this offense. What do you make of his return to the fold?
I'm not sure he's going to play, Heidi. On Wednesday, they activated him. If they didn't activate him, they were going to lose him for the season. So it was something they had to do. But if he does come back, he's had an oblique, he's had a heel injury, he's been dealing with things all season. But like you just said, it gives them another weapon. It gives them another speed for Patrick Mahomes. And given Patrick Mahomes is 8-1 all time against the Raiders with 26 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. It's not like he needs any more weapons to play against the Raiders. But we'll see if Mecole Hardman, he's listed as questionable. I just saw the Chiefs injury report today. We'll see if he can go. Again, like I said, they had to activate him or they were going to lose him up until the Super Bowl if they even got there. So we'll have to see if he plays.
Well, one guy we know who will be playing is Jerick McKinnon, who's as of late been on a hot streak for this team. What do you make of his performance and impact that he's had as of late?
Great year to be in a contract year, right? He's been incredible for them. The touchdown machine, they're calling him. 7 touchdowns in the last 5 games. He's tied and broken NFL records for touchdowns in most consecutive games in terms of receiving for running backs. So he's having a great year. More of a, as we both know, more of a receiving to running back. I think he has 253 yards rushing, but another weapon for Pat Mahomes. And like I said, in a year where, he got $30 million from the Niners, but he's been on a couple one-year deal here with the Chiefs in terms of like 2.5 a year, probably making himself a lot of money in a contract year.
Lastly, we have to take a look at this defense. Chris Jones has been on fire. The sacks have really been coming for this team. They haven't had a game without one, in fact, Ed. What do you make of the Kansas City defense? Is this enough to propel this team forward against the Raiders?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Spagnuolo's defense is doing a great job. They drafted 7 of 10 defensive players in the last draft, and a lot of those guys are making a difference. You just mentioned, obviously a veteran in Chris Jones, who's he's having a monster season with the sacks. They're getting, like you said, sacks 5 straight games. This is what they need because they're going to score. They're going to score against the Raiders. They've done it for a long time now, have not lost many to the Raiders. So if the defense can stand up, and they have a tape now on Jarrett Stidham. That's another thing that's really important. Jarrett Stidham has 1 game under his belt as an NFL starter. He did so last week. You and I were there to see him lose to the Niners in overtime. Had a really, really good game, but now there's tape on him. It'll be really interesting. Spagnuolo, one of the best in the business, to see what he does after he watches that tape to try to slow down Jarrett Stidham, Davante Adams, and anything else the Raiders can bring at them.
Only one Raiders player officially out for Saturday's game against Kansas City. I'm Adam Hill with your injury report. Darian Butler still in concussion protocol. He will not play against the Chiefs. The only other player with any injury designation at all is Josh Jacobs. He's been dealing with an oblique issue, a hip issue, pretty much his entire body at this point of the season. But the last couple of days he has not practiced for personal reasons. He is questionable for the game. We'll see if he's able to go, but he does pretty much have that rushing title locked up. A lot of those individual goals already secured, and no real reason maybe to push it one more game for the Raiders. So we'll see what they do at running back coming up on Saturday. Everybody else good to go. There's been a couple of illnesses, guys limited in practice due to that, but they are cleared for the game on Saturday. On the Chiefs side, a whole bunch of guys that are missing. So the Chiefs dealing with a little bit more than the Raiders, and of course the Chiefs with a lot more on the line for Saturday's game. I'm Adam Hill with your injury report.
DNR House of Diamonds is Las Vegas's elite private office jeweler, the perfect bridge between internet pricing and a traditional brick-and-mortar jewelry store. We specialize in loose diamonds, natural and lab-grown, engagement rings, fashion jewelry, custom design, and jewelry repairs. We operate by appointment in our beautiful offices in the One Summerlin building, downtown Summerlin. Our great relationships with the world's largest diamond wholesalers and our low overhead saves you hundreds, if not thousands, on your purchase.
With Capriatis, game day is always extraordinary. Fuel your passion with our award-winning cheesesteaks, in-house oven-roasted turkey, and classic subs. Or create a fan frenzy with our catering trays that are perfect for any crew. At Capriatis, we deliver extraordinary to you.
Listen to the Vegas Nation podcast 3 times a week, featuring Vinny Bonsignor and Sam Gordon to kick off the week with First and 10. In the middle of the week, catch Heidi Fang's takeaways, and rounding out the week on Fridays is Ed Graney and Adam Hill with Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Subscribe to the podcast and check them out as well on VegasNation.com and the Vegas Nation app, all powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Vegas Nation, fast takes, smart coverage.
Let's get a look at the lines now for this Week 18 matchup with sports betting columnist Todd Dewey.
Thanks, Cassie. This line has bounced around quite a bit. It opened up at the Chiefs by 9, up to 10 at some places. And then sharp money came in on the Raiders that drove it down to 7.5, but it's bounced back now to 9.5 at several books. The total is 52.5, and the Raiders are plus 360 on the money line. There's been sharp action at circa over 50.5 and 51.5, under 53. So a lot of sharp action all over on both sides. But the Chiefs are on an 0-4 spread slide on the road. The Raiders have covered 3 of the last 5 meetings, including the 30-29 loss at Kansas City earlier this season on Monday Night Football. Bettors are banking on the Raiders at BetMGM, where they lead the ticket count by a 5-1 margin and the money wagered by a 2-1 margin. So at least at BetMGM, the books need the Chiefs.
That will do it for our final episode of Vegas Nation Game Day for this 2022-2023 season. Once again, the Raiders hosting the Chiefs this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. for a Week 18 matchup. For all of your Raiders news up until then and after the season, including any off-season moves, you can head on over to VegasNation.com. It has been a pleasure bringing you Raiders news this season. I'm your host, Cassie Soto. We'll see you soon.
Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Game Day, presented by DNR House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable, located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.